weather for you this morning. I know it is early, but the severe weather has already started popping off, and a lot of it is here into Oklahoma. You see it stretches up into the plains as well. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings right along I-35, also stretching here along 40. And severe thunderstorm warning means you could have winds 58 miles an hour or greater. Look at Norman, Oklahoma there in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, popping off. And hello to our colleagues there at the SPC that is based in Norman, and there's a lot of lightning associated with this. It's dark. It's going to be hard to see if there is a tornado. And this is our tornado right now. And right now it's a little cluttered. That area is where we do have some of the rotation. You can see that there is rotation in this right now, and it is moving off to the east-northeast. There's no dropout here with our correlation coefficient really to show us that there's any sort of debris associated with this right now. But we will continue to watch this as there is a rotation. And if you have a rotation in a thunderstorm, it could be on the ground at any point. So do keep that in mind, as is moving a little bit on the slower side, relatively speaking, about 25 miles an hour. And a lot of these storms sometimes can move 40, 45 miles an hour, even 60 miles an hour. So if you live in Hazel Dell, 5:15 your time, Johnson, Garden Grove, 5:31, 5:41. If you know anyone in these areas, you might want to give them a call and wake them up and let them know that there is rotation on the radar. There is the potential for a tornado at any moment here. And anyone that's driving along I-40, we are going to see very heavy rainfall. Wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of, flash flooding or ponding on the road with the heavy rain that we've got going on here. And of course, a lot of lightning and a lot of thunderstorms as well. Purcell, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. Tribby 2, all of this is moving off to the north and the east. And this is really just the beginning of multiple days of severe weather lasting all the way into the weekend. And then Carter, Garvin, and also into Murray counties. And by the way, what's the difference between a watch and a warning? Jim and I got asked that actually just the other day. And when you have a watch, which is a big area, that means that you could have severe thunderstorms within that area. When you have a warning, that means you have one or you're going to have one probably at any moment. So a warning is top notch. If you have a warning, that's when you need to take action. A watch means you need to be aware. This is until 8 a.m. And I anticipate many more of these to be issued through the day today. Also, a couple flash flood warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings as we head up into Nebraska. Kansas City, the heaviest rain is on the east side, but I'll tell you what, in Kansas City, you're going to be in and out of the weather all the way through our Sunday. So you might get a break, but don't think you're finished once, the rain goes through. So today, the highest threat for severe weather is up towards Lincoln, Des Moines, Kansas City. That's where our Torcon value is a 5. That means that we could have tornadoes, and some of them could be on the strong side. Hail 2 inches. That is lime or egg size. If you're having breakfast this morning, imagine an egg just solid as a rock flying down to you here. And all of this is going to be moving to the east. And by the way, this is just our first of 2 systems. Our next one you can see is already starting to dive into the west coast. I'm not going to get into that. That's for another segment. But essentially, we have loads of moisture getting all the way up here into the northern plains. Warm, moist air is in place for us here. And so that's why we have all these thunderstorms, lots of energy, lots of buoyancy in the atmosphere, but things actually get more buoyant as we head into our Saturday, so we have to watch out for that. But when you get these winds to punch in and shift with height, that's when you're going to get a better chance for that severe weather. So as we go through the day, notice that it's really an all-day event. Everything is just kind of shifting to the east, and then we will see our next system really just pop right into a lot of the same areas. We're going to get hit kind of day after day, round after round. And so flooding could be a big deal with this thing as well, especially, Jordan, as we head into tomorrow.
Yeah, so for the next couple of days, obviously.
Using our virtual view technology to show you what the weather will look like in Kansas City. And I'll tell you what, it's looking like this maybe just right now, but we are going to see day after day after day of strong to potentially severe thunderstorms. And it goes Friday, Saturday, into our Sunday, really all weekend long. And winds gusted to 65 miles an hour yesterday at the airport with 88 flights delayed. We could see more of the same as we head through the weekend. So we're going to kind of pick up where Jim left off. Notice the 3 days in the row with those thunderstorms. Yeah, it's not a total washout. You'll have some sunshine, but that really returns as we head into our Monday. But notice this is where the rain is right now. Like I said, we kind of look like we just had cloudy skies, but you are going to see storms that will come through. There they are, boom, as we head into the afternoon. Some of this hail could be lime size or larger. That's going to do damage for you. And then as we head into our Saturday, you see how there's multiple rounds coming through for us here all the way into the evening hours. So Oklahoma City, we have a 5 on our Torcon, and essentially that means we will see a few tornadoes, and some of them could be strong. And Oklahoma City, no stranger, of course, to tornadoes. Strong thunderstorms, unfortunately, rumbling through at night, which we do not like. That is obviously worst case scenario. Another round coming through as we head into our Saturday afternoon, into our Saturday evening. It kind of really just doesn't stop. And notice as we head into our Saturday, remember how I said Saturday was going to be a bigger day than today? Notice the shear coming out of the south, kind of even southeast here, if you will, at the surface to 5,000 feet. And then once we get up to 20,000 feet, it shifts to the south-southwest. So that gives you a little more shear, a little more spin in the environment for us here. Kansas, we're going to get it too. This is Wichita, Jordan, on and off. Really, Saturday is going to be a rough day, and Sunday, as Jim was mentioning, nothing really shifts.
You know, the flood threat is real.
Into that area and show you why we could see some severe weather. And we're going to show you the whole atmosphere because, remember, it's just like a hamburger, so you have to look at each layer of it. We're going to take you into Omaha, Nebraska, and here at the surface at 5,000 feet, you can see our winds are out of the southeast at around about 24 miles an hour for us. But as we go up with height, look how the wind shifts direction and also gains some speed. And so we've got some directional shear, and we've also got some speed shear with this, and that is one of the reasons that you can get that spin in the atmosphere. Pretty cool to be able to see those winds from different directions and, of course, at different speeds as well. This is just one city, but, of course, there are many more, Jim, with this tornado threat.
Yeah, and you not only have that, but you have what we...
Welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters. We are starting a multiple-day severe weather threat in the central U.S., and it's stretching from Texas up north into portions of Iowa today, and it will move a little bit east. It kind of shifts around, but really right through the center of the country is where we will see the worst of the weather the next several days. And it's not just thunderstorms. We're talking tornadoes. A 5 means we could see a few tornadoes, some strong, and many places will see round after round after round of storms. So don't get fooled by the break in between them. And we could see hail 2 inches. You were talking lime size or greater. That will do damage. This is only today. Jim, as we head into tomorrow, the parameters look a little more intense.
They do. So
that, or UPenn at least, their forecast is. All week long, we've been breaking down what you can expect in June during hurricane season. And today, we are going to talk Audrey. And here's an overview of Audrey. I mean, here's the thing. This could happen because we're expecting a super active storm. This was June 1957. How many of you out there remember that one? This was a Category 3 in June. Landfall near Cameron, Louisiana, over 400 fatalities, 23 tornadoes spawned, and Audrey's surge reached as high as 12 to 14. As you get this big storm coming, and ahead of it, the water builds up and builds up and builds up. And so that increases that water, and it also depends on the bathymetry, which is the shelf. Like, you know, when you walk out to go into the water and you're on the sand, then you're in the water, you can keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. It depends how shallow that is or how deep that is, how high your surge actually can get. And so that really makes a huge difference. The shape of the coastline as well. If you're going into somewhere that all the water's squeezing right into one area, like Tampa Bay, for instance, then you could get a higher surge. Faster storms produce higher surge on open coast. Slower make them in bays. Katrina, by the way, was just this massive slow storm that just kept cranking it in. Storm surge watch, that means that the inundation is possible in 48 hours. 36 hours is when you get the storm surge warning, and that's when your, inundation is expected. So what should you do right now? Find out if you're in an evacuation zone. See if you are. Decide where you're going to go. Get all of your paperwork, in order. Find a safe place. And do not evacuate vertically in a high rise. You want to go inland. But, Jim, I also want to remind everybody, if you do go inland, you still could run into flooding rain. These are not just, hurricanes are just not coastal systems.
Ask the folks.
And I was just saying that I appreciate our whole team, because it's not just us here getting this out to the viewers right now, because there is a lot happening. And by the way, this is just the start of 3 days in a row of severe weather in a lot of the same areas. Severe thunderstorm warnings. We have tornado warnings now into Oklahoma, and there's going to be a lot more of these as the day goes on. So let's get right down into it here and show you what we're dealing with. Now, a warning means that that type of weather is imminent or it is occurring. And so we're going to look deeper into our different radar scans that we have here to tell you what we can see. This is showing us all the rain on the radar. Very heavy rain coming down on 44, even as you go all the way down to I-40, and it's all heading east. And this is a line of storms, and within that you can get little notches that can give you just a little spin coming in. You have winds that kind of come down. You can get little spins that can go up on either side. So you can see we do have a couple of these notches along this line, and that's what we are going to be dealing with this morning. Now, the problem is there's a lot of rain, there's a lot of lightning, they'll be hard to see, and right now we don't have any confirmed tornadoes on the ground. But if there is rotation above you, how many times have you seen that video and you look up and there's this storm, it's just rotating and rotating. At any moment that could be on the ground. And so if there's a warning, you need to seek shelter immediately. Lowest level, most interior section of your home. Do you live in Beggs? This line's going to be to you at 609. Do you live in Bixby? It's going to be at 626. Muskogee, it's going to be to you at 654. And you see a few other cities there as well. It is all moving essentially off to the east, a little bit of a northward jog to that. By the way, yesterday, we had hail the size of an apple come down in some places, baseball-size hail. We could see that again today, and also some gusty winds with these storms too. So even if you don't get a tornado, or if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, look at these lines bowing out right here. That's an indication of really strong winds pushing everything off to the east, and you could still get significant damage with some of these winds, because they could take down a tree that could go right into your house. It could go into your car, and you can see some of these stronger winds. Look at all this pushing out, pushing out. And again, sometimes when you get that push of winds, you can get those little spin ups on the end too. So we've had this severe thunderstorm watch. If you're anywhere in the yellow, that means that you really just need to be aware. Severe thunderstorm could come to your area. If it's a warning, that's when you need to take action. This is now a new tornado watch until 11 o'clock, Tulsa down to McAllister, along I-40, heading towards the Fort Smith area. This means conditions are favorable for the development of a tornado. So you need to be weather aware until 11 a.m. local time. But that's not the only spot. We also have severe weather up to Lincoln and into Des Moines, and that's where we have our biggest threat for tornadoes. A 5 means a few tornadoes. Some could be strong. Hail, as I mentioned, 2 inches. That is lime size or egg size. Could be bigger as well. That could do some damage for you. And we have our big system coming east. You see that jet energy coming in as well. Then we have our next system here. Jim's going to talk about it momentarily. That's going to be our Saturday and Sunday event for us. But there is loads of moisture, loads of forcing in the atmosphere. And I know we got to get to Jordan, but I just want to show everyone this forecast, how the storms are going to go over a lot of the same areas. So flooding could be a problem too. And Jordan, I mean, all the way up into Nebraska, this whole thing is going to be problematic through the entire day.
All right, so let's take a look at a couple of...
In more detail, Jim, about what we're going to see in places like Kansas City. It looks like this morning, a little cloudy, but we are going to see several days of severe weather, and some of these storms are going to be very intense and look like this as we head into this afternoon. They're right back in it into our Saturday, into our Sunday as well. Winds gusted to 65 miles per hour yesterday at the airport. 88 flights were delayed. So let's time it out for us. And notice Kansas City, yes, the next 3 days we've got the storms, and then of course right on Monday Mother Nature brings back that sunshine, like come on. So we're quiet right now into Kansas City, but we do have some storms off to our southeast, also off to our southwest, I should say, and northeast. Look at these things coming in this evening, and this virtual view that you can see behind me, that's the technology we have to show you what the weather looks like. If you're under one of these storms, it'll look like this or worse. You probably won't be able to see some of these buildings behind me, right, if you have it that intense coming down. So we will be on and off. Saturday they come through again for us. We will see more of those storms, and then Sunday it continues. Now we do have a 5. That means a few tornadoes, some of them strong in the Oklahoma City area. What is our timing? Well, overnight into tomorrow morning, and then look at this right along I-35 for our 4 p.m. And it goes into our Sunday evening, or I should say our Saturday evening into our Sunday morning as well. So it's round after round. Now, the shear We do have definitely, some speed shear here because our numbers are kind of doubling as we go up in height. We also have some of that wind change as we head into tomorrow afternoon. You have a southerly flow more at the surface, and then you get that westerly component to it. That can help give you some spin in the atmosphere. So Wichita, we get storms as we go into our Saturday afternoon. Some of these maybe could get a little hook on them, which is where you would see the tornado. And of course, we are extending our live coverage here. We have live crews in the field. We have got you covered for what could be an outbreak here as we head over the next couple of days. Jordan and Iowa, we are going to get it Saturday, really through a big chunk of the day, on and off, and even as we head into our Sunday.
Yeah, well, the days of rain.
Detail of why we think, ooh, did you see that lightning? What was that camera in the upper left-hand corner there? Oh, that was Tulsa. That was cranking right there. Due to the fact that we have got some spin in the atmosphere, we want to take you into Omaha because it's not just Oklahoma. This is going to go all the way up to places like Nebraska. Look at the surface here. We have our winds at 24 miles an hour from the southeast. That means they come from the southeast. So think like Gulf of Mexico coming up from that direction. Then as we go up in height, the winds shift direction. And this tells you that when you go up to 20,000 feet, they're coming from the south-southwest. So can you see how they're coming from completely different directions? That's what gives you that spin in the atmosphere. One of the things that gives you that spin in the atmosphere. And notice we go from 24 miles an hour at the surface to 60 miles at the upper levels. It can be a lot stronger than that, but you can see that we have both directional shear and also some speed shear in the atmosphere, Jim. And that's why we have our Torcons of 5.
Yes, and let's talk about.
Welcome back to America's Morning Headquarters. We are staring down a multi-day severe threat in the central United States, stretching from the Great Lakes to Texas. It's going to get going today, but not only will we see the threat for thunderstorms, hail, damaging winds, we've got that threat for tornadoes around as well. Many places will be hit with multiple rounds of storms today. And don't be fooled by the breaks in between the stronger storms as the day goes on. They'll continue to fire and they'll continue to be fierce. And Jim, this is just today. Essentially, we could switch the day and put Saturday and then switch the day and put Sunday and have essentially the same maps.
And Kansas City's in every day.
Here are thunderstorm warnings for us here, and we can show you. It's this line. We've been following this for the last couple of hours. It has been intense. It has stayed intense, and we're going to see more intensity coming out of not only these storms, but also this whole big system that stretches anywhere really from Colorado over into Illinois. Heavy rain with this as well. We've had tornado warnings on some of these cells. Right now, it's like two segments here, two big lines of really strong winds that are coming in and very heavy rain with these as well. Racing up 44 out of Tulsa. We had live camera out of Tulsa. It's still up there in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. It was lightning flash after lightning flash after, it was nonstop, just boom, 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 boom. And that is what we're going to see as we head up towards places like Miami in Oklahoma there. Muskogee, you're going to see it riding around 40 into Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Farmington. This is always all coming into your area. It looks like it'll get into the Farmington area at 8:04 this morning. Joplin, Missouri, this is headed in your direction. And notice that the threat is there is, a tag of a tornado possible on these. And that's mainly because you have some of these stronger winds. You can get these little spin-ups that occur. When you have a warning like we just showed you, that means that we do have a severe thunderstorm that's imminent or it's occurring. Okay? When you have a watch, that here means that it's favorable for development. So this is when you just kind of keep your eye to the weather. The warning is when it's imminent or it's happening. A tornado watch until 11 a.m., and that includes places like Tulsa in the eastern suburbs and just to the west of Fort Smith, McAllister. A tornado watch means conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes, and I'm sure we're going to see more of those tornadoes today. Look at the shield of rain from Missouri to Iowa. You can see the low rotating back down towards Nebraska and also into Colorado. Right now, all is pretty quiet between 80 and 70. We do have a few storms there just to the east of North Platte, but this area is likely to develop some stronger thunderstorms as we go over time. Notice that we have a 5 on our Torcon. That means that we will have some tornadoes, and some of them could be strong. And there is the threat for hail the size of a lime or bigger. Yesterday, we saw apple-sized hail, 3-inch hail. We saw baseball-sized hail yesterday, and that can obviously do some damage. This is our first system. Remember, you could see that rotation. There it is for you. Colorado, also into Nebraska. Then we have our next system that's coming in for our Saturday, Sunday, which Jim will talk about in just a few minutes. And so it's going to be day after day after day of storm, loads of moisture with that southerly flow bringing up all of that moist air, which is buoyant. And that means we're going to see the storms continue to fire off here. There's lots of available energy in the atmosphere for these to tap into. And there'll be even more energy as we get some of those stronger winds to come in. Those really energize the atmosphere for us, and so you could see them turn southwesterly. So let's go over time here as we go through the day. Notice it gets deeper into the Midwest, and there are some of your stronger storms firing up into Nebraska and then moving its way on into Iowa as well. And we still see the tail coming down. Eastern Oklahoma is going to stay stormy too. So this whole system will move east. Then our next one will take over and go, and unfortunately, really, Jordan, a lot of the same areas.
Yep, which will help the
use our virtual view technology, because right now Kansas City is quiet. But we are going to see storms ramp up as we head into the afternoon. You get a break. We're going to kind of go in and out of it on Saturday night. We're going to be right back into this type of weather. This is what it will look like. And in fact, winds gusted to 65 miles an hour yesterday at the airport. There were 88 flights delayed. I expect more delays as we head over the next several days. So Kansas City, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, and that's the story. We're right in the center of the country. Otherwise, it's sunshine here for our Monday. Beautiful Monday. It's like, come on, Mother Nature. Really, you're doing this when we all go back to work and school? Though I know school is starting to wind down for a lot of kids. There are your storms again into Kansas City. Also along 35 into our Saturday evening, and then as we roll into our Sunday morning, they're still going on. So if you're thinking you're going to catch up on your sleep and you have pets or spouses or kids that get, riled up from the severe weather, they might be waking you up. In fact, the storms might wake you up just because they're going to be booming so loud. And there's a 5 on our Torcon here, which means that we could see a few tornadoes, and also some of them could be strong. Hail could also crank out of these, and just strong winds throughout our Saturday. It's going to be a tough one, and then storms continue for us. So here's a look at Wichita, Kansas, and notice that we do have some of that change of wind with height, and that's what you call directional shear. So the winds are going to change what direction they're coming from. That gives you some of that spin in the atmosphere. And we have a little speed shear too, going from 29 miles an hour up to 60, or 61, 64 miles an hour. So you can get two different types of shear. There's speed shear and directional shear. Both of those types of shear can cause storms, and Jordan, we'll get them in Wichita as well, Saturday afternoon into the evening hours, and then, of course, as we head into our Sunday too.
Well, the days and days of rain.
Why there is the threat for tornadoes today, why we have a Torcon of 5, and the atmosphere is like a hamburger. There are different layers in the atmosphere. You have to look at all those layers to find out what is going to happen. So this is a look at the atmosphere in Omaha, Nebraska. This is the surface. Think of this as the bottom bun. At the bottom bun, the winds are coming from the southeast. That means they're blowing from the southeast to the northwest at 24 miles an hour. You go up 5,000 feet. That's the meat. As you go up from there, the tomato, the onion layer, and then the top bun at 20,000 feet, our winds are coming from the south-southwest at 60 miles an hour. So not only are they changing direction with height, they're also getting stronger. And when you have that change of wind direction with height, and also it getting stronger, it goes up, that really energizes these storms, gives them a little twist, and that's why you do have that threat for tornadoes. Jim, I think that our wind profiler, this is really the best way to explain the atmosphere is like a hamburger. We just need to make this look like a bun, put a little meat there, and go on.
Right. You need some pimento cheese, avocado, and a fried egg.
We're going to have to add a few other layers in there for Jim's burger, apparently.
My burger's about this.
Well, welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters. We are staring down, I should say, a multi-day severe threat in the central states. Stretching from Texas to the Great Lakes, it gets going today, and we will not only see thunderstorms, but we could see large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. Many places will be hit with multiple rounds of severe storms today, and don't be fooled by the break in between. As the day goes on, storms will continue to fire up overnight into tomorrow. Jim, we essentially could take this picture, and at the top, instead of saying today, we could do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because it's all kind of in that same vicinity.
And include Friday night and Saturday night.
Exactly.
So,
tough side as we go over the next couple of days, because we have a lot of severe weather that we're dealing with. And even if it's not the severe weather, just the rain is going to slow things down, or the wind associated with this huge system. Look how wide this is. I mean, it's going all the way from Colorado into the Midwest. We have had a line of severe thunderstorms, now a flash flood warning. I expect more flash flood warnings to pop up. Here's the thing. We need the rain. We'll just do without the severe weather if we could, because a lot of these areas are pretty dry for us, especially around Tulsa. These thunderstorms have been ongoing for the last several hours. There's been a couple tornado warnings on them, and everything is continuing to move east towards places like Fayetteville, Fort Smith. This is all in your direction. If you live on the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma, this is headed your way, and you're about to get wet. Ardmore, we have a stronger cell that's just popped up for you, and it's going to make its way into Fayetteville by 8:14. Fort Smith, 8:25. Branson, Missouri, you're going to get it at 9:21. So this is not just down into places like Oklahoma and Missouri. It stretches all the way up to east of Kansas City on I-70. Flash flood warning here for Center, Nevada, and Pittsburgh until 3:15 this afternoon. And we are going to see a lot of heavy rain on all these highways. So if you're driving on 35, 70, 44, 20, you've got to watch out for hail damage on your car, Jim, because some of this hail, by the way, is going to be lime-sized or bigger. We're talking 2 inches or more. And then tomorrow, really a lot of the same areas.
apple size, right, Steph?
Apple size. Yesterday, we saw 3 inches. Can expect for the start of hurricane season, which is June. And so this week is June. Next week, we're going to go through the month of July in what is typical. And I'll tell you what, we have had major hurricanes in June. This is Audrey from 1957. Do you remember that one? Category 3 at landfall, over 400 fatalities. 23 tornadoes were spawned with this one. And Audrey's storm surge reached as high as 12 surge factors. Strong storms increase force, pushing on the water, and a 15-mile-per-hour difference in wind can raise a surge by several feet. That is a big deal. And of course, the shape of the coastline matters. Do you have somewhere like Tampa Bay, where you have that bay area? Everything is all going to get shoved right into that bay. It can exacerbate the situation. Faster storms produce a higher surge on open coast. Slower surge produce higher surge in bays. Think, like Katrina. That was a huge storm. And it also matters what the bathymetry, that's one of my favorite words, bathymetry. When you go to the beach and you're in the sand, you walk, and then the water hits your feet, it hits your ankles, you keep walking, and you're going down, and all of a sudden the water's up to here. Well, that's the slope of the land. That's a bathymetry. And in the Gulf Coast, it's a nice slow slope, so you could walk out sometimes really far to those sandbars. Off the east coast of Florida, it drops off really quickly. Where you have that nice gentle slope in the Gulf, you can get higher surge to build up. A storm surge watch, that means life-threatening inundation from the waters rising. You get that in 48 hours. A warning, which means it is imminent, is in 36 hours for us, so keep that in mind. What you need to do is plan right now. All this says is make sure if you're in an evacuation zone, you know when to evacuate. Only evacuate when they tell you to do so. You don't want to go vertically. You want to go inland. But you have to remember that these are not just coastal storms. You can get flooding inland, and it can be deadly. We've seen that with Audrey. And, of course, Jim, we've seen that with numerous cyclones since the early 1900s with inland flooding. And look at this. June into July, Jim, is, when we see a lot of named storms. Those 3 and 5s are a little bit later in the season.
But all bets are off. The